today, we're going to be building a starter meadow house. Perfect to begin your world with, and we have storage in the basement, some general theming going on, a lot of decorations, and a little mine in case you press yours up against a mountain or want to make your mine themed like your house. So let's get right into it. Begin by finding yourself a meadow. This won't work in a cherry grove, the vibe is a little bit too different. Although I could see this working in a grove though. For exact location, I recommend either putting it at the edge of the mountain, pressed up against a mountain, or nearby a river. Some sort of landmark. Don't place it directly in the middle of the field though. So you can see here, we have a nice, basically 90-degree angle that generated for me, which is really nice. Begin with a stone foundation, just plain old stone. Remove any flowers in the way, and don't bother flattening your area. This one was already pretty flat, but don't flatten it further. We'll actually just work with the terrain. Start this around, sunrise, so that way you don't get interrupted while doing this. Then for the walls, this is pretty easy. We're going to do 4 high of stripped spruce logs. You can also see how the foundation in this case is L-shaped. This is intentional. I strongly recommend you do the same. We're going to have one main room, and then we're going to have a staircase down. So you can see here, filling it all in, and we have a pretty good idea of what it's going to look like. If you built on especially uneven terrain, you might be getting worried, but I can assure you, the floor is just going to be pretty easy here. So now, we're going to do precisely that. You can see spruce floors. Although spruce on spruce and the ceiling is going to be partially spruce, seems like a bad plan, I can assure you, this will work. Then, you can also add a shed onto the side, or pretty much anything like this. We're going to be connecting this into the mountain to build our mine, or you could be going down in order to build your mine. Regardless, make it only a few blocks wide. Don't forget, you can modify anything you see in this tutorial. This is a customizable rather than a block by block. You can see here, we added in a staircase made of cobblestone, and we're adding in our windows. So you can see here, the window on the corner might not look good, but if it's right next to the entrance on an outward angle, it's probably fine. Don't make your windows taller than 2 blocks though. Otherwise, the roof will connect with them and it'll look really weird. Then, you want to also divide up the house. So you can see here why I made it L-shaped. It's because we're separating the staircase downward and the bedroom. So you can see here how we're doing that. You might also want to indent that wall in slightly to give it a little bit more depth. I do that later on in the video off camera. When doing your windows, please use glass panes. This way, it just looks better and also saves you some resources. Now for the porch, this is pretty easy. Cobblestone, you can use spruce and fence gate, pause if you want a closer look, and then dark oak. When the cobblestone touches the grass, make a transition layer of moss. So you can see here, we have ourselves some thresholds made of the chiseled tuff bricks. That also works very well. Although, I don't recommend them for the interior, because who has a tile thing going to their bedroom? So yeah. We also have some windows in there, but notably none on the direct side, because that's where the bed's gonna go. Then, we have all this, we have our windows in place, and you can see how I have a little bit too tall of one on the side. You can see why this is gonna become an issue. Across all of the build, excluding the long part where we can see the tall part of the L, we're going to have dark oak slabs going across. We're going to be making the typical pyramid shape of a roof on the long side. So anyways, here, we're going to go all the way across with some dark oak slabs. Then, we'll have the roof go from a gradient between blackstone all the way to deepslate bricks. So you can see here, we have the roof in place. The little triangle on the side, we have the shed built in, and the flat top for the thick part of the L. You can see how we have stairs when we go to what would basically be the attic. Also, you can decorate your windows with little planter boxes like this. And your foundation, you can see is exposed, we'll also decorate that. Pretty much, when you do your roof, you can see it was all deepslate tiles, and we have the triangle shape. Then, we want to start adding some of more refined details. Moss might seem like a good choice, but it doesn't really match the meadow grass color, so I'd advise against it. You can see a good view of the roof. We have that window decorated. Notice all the shelves, the trapdoors, everything. Pause if you want to take a closer look. We can also grow flower there. The foundation also bulges outward using some tuff and cyan terracotta along with glow lichen. This is to provide some age to the build and show it was not made by an expert craftsman. Instead, it just piled onto some rocks. A lot of what you do here is determined by how you feel about the meadow biome. So if you have to, maybe write down a short to like 2-paragraph thing about how the meadow makes you feel. It sounds really, really corny, but I can assure you it is fantastic to do. So you can imagine how this is working out for me. Then for the ceiling inside here, we're just going to do some slats. On the sides, we have stairs going across, and we alternate between spruce slabs and then dark oak going between them. As for the roof itself, you can see the gradient has now been added. We go from blackstone for the shed, the lowest part, to blackstone bricks, to deepslate tiles, to deepslate bricks. We also have some stairs, both in the walls to provide some texture, and alternating on the sides. This is to also provide more depth. Don't forget, we also need a chimney, because what kind of house doesn't have one? So you're going to bore through some of your ceiling. It's okay though, luckily it's not too difficult to assemble a roof like that, especially if it's your second time. Then, divide the main room. You can see here, we're going to make part of it a kitchen. Then, if you're doing stairs, you can see how the dark oak comes through with this pattern, where we go spruce stair to slab, and we have the stuff between them. Now, we decorate the room, and you can see I accidentally placed a candle on myself, but we have a bunch here. So, you can imagine what kind of person lives here. We still need a little bit on that wall, but don't worry. The roof is done, we have the fireplace, notice the upside down pickaxe, we have a book on the table, 2 armor stands stacked by placing one down and then one above it and destroying the block under the top one. We're using banners and item frames with upside down deepslate slabs of varying variants. We have a fridge with warped buttons made of iron, all these beautiful things. So you can see how this build is really coming together. It's definitely a vibe. Then the chimney, bricks, granite, and a little bit of damage done with stairs. This helps keep it a little bit more varied when you add damage like that. Then spruce for any of those less glamorous portions of the build you don't want to show, you just hide it with some leaves. Now for the bedroom. This is pretty easy. We're going to build a big bed, and we're going to build a real bedroom. So you can see in here, pretty simple. We have ourselves the big bed, notice backward shelves on the back. All this is a bunch of beds, so that way the whole thing is bouncy, although it looks really weird when you try sleeping. Then we have the coat closet, we have a dresser, we have the crafting table, under chest, stone cutter, all those things, and then cauldrons with spruce leaves above to act as potted plants. So we have all those, and now we also have that little couch there, just to look at the bottom right to see how I did that. And now we're going to go down. Make sure it wasn't too close to a river, otherwise you might have to make a turn. So go down, and then we'll build another room down there. You could make a whole complex if you wanted to put your enchanting room and more things in this build. We do not use an enchanting table in this build because I just didn't really want to. You'd probably be better off putting that in your spawner farm actually, tutorial listed below. But anyways, we're going to dig down, and you can see a lot going on here. Spruce transition layer with cyan, tuff, and pale moss acting as a gradient on the walls. And then at the very bottom, we continue that. The floor goes from cyan terracotta to tuff to stone to andesite. Additionally, we have a chain there acting as a light switch. It looks a little bit too macabre, so I replaced the bottom with a lightning rod. Make sure you have some pillars. You can see in the corners, we have full blocks, 2 fences, and then spruce. And then we connect these with more slats. Sea lanterns for the ceiling as part of just the vibe I'm going for, limited electricity. Then we can even incorporate coal ore into the walls to further decorate it. Remove any excess things like the andesite you don't want, or incorporate it directly into your palette. You might be surprised of what works. You might also want to incorporate granite depending on how the meadow makes you feel, because it would act as a very good earthy contrast. And now we're going to make this a functional room. Add in your chests. It's a little bit deep, but I can assure you, it makes your storage room a little bit more special. When everything's all in the same room in Minecraft, it looks very boring. Anyways, we're going to do that. Mirror it to both sides, and then add decorations as needed. So you can see here, chest stacked, crafting tables, brewing stands, furnaces, more decorative things. And we have a table, like this is the house of a knight. I also incorporated some gravel into the floor, if you look closely. We also do need some decorations though. These flat walls, if they aren't going anywhere, then put something like note blocks to act as crates. And then this is a really fun one. We're placing down some signs to organize these instead of item frames. However, let's do a little bit bigger. Press Windows plus period on your keyboard and type in square. Then press it twice and spam a bunch of spaces between them using the arrow keys. And look, we have nails. Put in the things you actually want to organize them by, use my system, it's pretty efficient, and then decorate the rest of the room. So hooray on that one as well. Don't forget, item frames can really tell a story in your build. So hooray, we have the actual house itself complete. But this doesn't mean we are done with the build. We still have the mining area, and we have the landscape and all those other things. And while the house itself is simple, I want to make sure that your world is better than just normal. So let's go in and make a path. Speckle in a bunch of mossy cobblestone. And then if you have any areas like that, make sure to fill them in. If you just have a little divot, that can actually be flattened. And then we're going to make this extend all across the area that we plan to use. Hence why I said don't put your build in the middle. We want to make sure we could build a village or an assortment of other things. Then mix it in with tuff to provide variance. And now we can see it's jagged, has grass growing in between, flowers in between, and we're just snaking around the meadow side, connecting it to any other important things nearby. Make sure to make any steep inclines either out of stairs or decorate them further. Don't forget to always texture it. And now we connect it to a bunch of other builds of mine, like a Tudor house and a birch forest house. Other things like that really make your world feel connected. If you spend all your time building farms out of render distance, it feels like you did nothing. So you can see here, connects to a different style of path, and hooray, makes it feel a little bit more secluded by having that darker, more blending in path. However, this does not mean our path is done, far from it. We actually need to add some lighting and optionally more decorations. So we're going back here, and we can see the house itself is looking pretty good. The path makes it look more like an actual building rather than a showcase made for a video. So let's transition to nighttime. You can see it's very dark. This is a problem actually. Yeah, so add some lights around your build. You can add extra stairs and slabs to make sure that everything looks good. And then, when you do that, just more lanterns. When you hide the lanterns on the build, then you can modify things. And what do you know, makes it more charming while making sure there's no zombies crawling over it. So hooray. The ceiling might be a little bit dark though, so be sure to light up your attic and the top of the build if you want to, hiding it under carpets. As for the outside, more lanterns. Yes, you might think that's a waste of iron, but when you use your resources to build something, it makes it feel more special, rather than going for the cheap option. What are we, modern architecture? We can also hide firefly bushes around. This adds particles. Hide them underground so that way nobody sees them, and we still get the particles from them. Now, let's speckle the entire countryside with the lanterns, of course on the path. You can see here how we can very visibly see the path we're meant to take along it. And this really tells a story. I added some more flowers onto it, and we can even do leaf litter. You can make the leaf litter scatter in one direction to make it look like the path is used in one direction more than the others. Try to avoid embedding your logs into the side like that, but if you have to, you certainly can. So we have that, and you can see this makes sure that our lands are actually interesting to look at. Now, we go back to the house itself. We can also change the flower arrangements, different ones. Hide some of them inside the path too to show that the path is partially reclaimed, as if this wasn't actually built, but rather walked along too much. For the leaves I was talking about, just place them. Remember, wildflowers, pink petals, and leaf litter are all directional, so be sure to spin around sometimes. You can see what I was talking about. Since I added them so much in this specific direction, it makes it look like we tracked leaves. This is very important for telling a story. It's not much of a story, we don't need a plot, we just need an event. And what do you know, that says a lot. We can also add bushes made of spruce leaves or another leaf type. Additionally, custom trees, if you're willing to build them, work very well, although I do not include them. Don't forget, beehives on trees when they do appear. So we have all this. We have some blue banners hanging like this is part of a very rural part of the country, and we have a small farm growing there. Remember, whenever building here, water has a very vibrant color, especially in Java Edition. Also added more lanterns across the build, and there's a lightning rod from the chain to make it look more like a light switch rather than bindings, because this is not meant to be a scary house, this is just meant to be a house. So we have this little cottage. It's a little glum, but that's precisely what we want. The back entrance, since it's pressed up to a mountain, doesn't have much going for it, but since it's actually connected to the mountain, which has nothing hidden inside, then we can actually add our mine entrance here. And while technically I have my own whole video on this, this is fully internal, so I'll just give you a treat for watching this far. Decorate your mine entrances. So we can see how that's going to work out. This looks absolutely awesome. Emeralds all over. We have that gradient with the cyan and tuff, pale moss going around the lake, and the bottom of the lake is deepslate. Then we can also see cracks in the walls with emeralds. That's a little bit duck-shaped. And we also have some geysers acting as a waterfall. Raw iron contained in some trapdoors. The floor has a cobblestone path. And we even have ourselves a little area for just a stop. I recommend adding a crafting table though, I forgot that. But you can see a clock there. We have a chest for garbage that we don't want to sort yet. Things like that. And black concrete behind the water. So, hidden right inside the mountain. Which means we are done with this video. You can see here, very nice house. We have a bunch of decorations to set you off building strong on your world. Even if you don't want to watch any more tutorials after this, you have an idea. We want paths, we want more decorations. We have basically a realistic interior. We have a bedroom, a whole room, a massive bed. We have the slatted ceiling, the mirrors on the walls. There's a whole bunch of things you can do with this. And we have a story being told in this basement. The table with the items on it, the armor trims on the armor that's evidently not being used right now, things like that. When you do everything, it tells a story, and when you tell your story in your world, it makes it better than just more farms, more fireworks with elytra, things like that. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, remember, please like and subscribe, it really helps me out, and if you have any suggestions on how I can further improve these videos, tell me down below. Either way, enjoy the rest of your day. Gearsaw out.